Hello, this is Biz Big Picture, connecting the dots to deliver you the big picture. Samsung, Xiaomi, a wide range of smartphone and IT companies rely on this company's AP chips and communication modems. A strong player in the mobile chip market, Qualcomm. In October 2024, Qualcomm unveiled its latest technologies and roadmap at the annual Snapdragon Summit 2024, where the company introduced the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. However, on the same day, ARM unexpectedly announced it would terminate its licensing agreement with Qualcomm for ARM architecture within 60 days. Most of Qualcomm's products are based on ARM architecture. Therefore, if Qualcomm fails to reach an agreement with ARM, it could face a complete halt in product sales. What on earth is going on between ARM and Qualcomm? What made ARM push back strong despite risking being a party pooper? Let's break down this issue step by step after understanding what ARM does first. In 1981, the introduction of the IBM PC 5150 marked a significant milestone in the widespread adoption of personal computers. IBM discloses technical details to other PC manufacturers. As other PC manufacturers created PCs and peripherals compatible with the IBM PC, an ecosystem centered around IBM expanded, leading to an explosive growth in PC market. Even before the advent of the IBM PC in the 1970s, PCs were being introduced, primarily in the US market, gradually laying the groundwork for widespread PC adoption. And across the ocean, Britain couldn't just sit back and watch. In the early 1980s, the BBC, the British public broadcaster, launched a project called Computer Literacy to support computer education for students. In 1981, the same year the IBM PC was released in the United States, the BBC Micro, an educational computer, was launched in the UK. It quickly gained popularity in schools. The company that supplied the BBC Micro was Acorn Computers, a startup that would later become ARM. In 1987, Acorn Computers released the Acorn Archimedes, the successor to the BBC Micro. The Acorn Archimedes was equipped with the ARM1 CPU, designed by a team of Cambridge professors. This CPU significantly improved performance and power efficiency by simplifying the instruction set. Unfortunately, the Acorn Archimedes was overshadowed by the IBM PC and failed to gain widespread market adoption. Meanwhile, Apple, which had launched the Macintosh in 1984, was struggling financially due to the dominance of IBM PCs and was seeking new growth opportunities in the late 1980s. As Apple explored the possibility of releasing a PDA, a device that would eventually evolve into today's tablets, they were drawn to the chips manufactured by Acorn. These chips, renowned for their energy efficiency, were considered a perfect fit for the portable nature of PDAs. In this way, Acorn, the chip designer, the LSI, the chip manufacturer, and Apple, the future customer, united to create ARM in 1990. In 1993, Apple's Newton PDA, equipped with an ARM-designed chip, was released. However, due to its limited functionality, such as scheduling and note-taking and poor handwriting recognition, the device was a commercial failure. Of course, this PDA served as a foundation for Apple's 2007 iPhone launch, and it was also a catalyst for ARM to realize the need to diversify its revenue streams. And ARM changed its approach to chip design, opting to provide foundational chip architectures and allowing other companies to build upon these designs. In 1997, the Nokia 6110, powered by an ARM processor, was released. Featuring the popular Snake game and a long battery life, it became a massive hit. Capitalizing on this momentum, ARM went public on both the London and NASDAQ stock exchanges in 1998. The widespread adoption of ARM architecture in flagship smartphones, including the 2007 iPhone and the 2010 Galaxy S, cemented its status as the dominant architecture for mobile application processors, particularly due to its power efficiency. ARM was acquired by Softbank in 2016. Masayoshi Son, Softbank's chairman, has labeled ARM as "my destiny," revealing his ambitious vision for the company. Softbank envisioned ARM's chip architecture as a cornerstone of the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. Its foresight appears to have been spot on. Sales in 2023 increased nearly fivefold compared to 2015. and revenue from non-mobile sectors surpassed that of the mobile sector. However, it's difficult to evaluate its success in terms of stock price. When SoftBank acquired ARM in 2016, ARM's market cap was approximately $24 billion. SoftBank purchased 100% of ARM's shares for around $32 billion, representing a premium of roughly 33%. In September 2020, SoftBank agreed to sell ARM to Nuvia for approximately $39 billion. However, regulatory authorities in the US, UK, EU, and China opposed the deal due to concerns over national security and reduced market competition, leading to the cancellation of the sale. Instead of selling ARM, SoftBank opted for NASDAQ relisting, and ARM shares began trading on the NASDAQ in September 2023. ARM's market cap, which stood at around $54 billion at its IPO, experienced a significant surge to approximately $150 billion by October 2024, indicating a remarkable stock performance. Nevertheless, some argue that the company's market cap is artificially inflated due to a limited public float, with SoftBank holding 88% and major tech firms like Apple, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, and Intel holding about 1% each. The public float is severely limited. Furthermore, the current market cap appears to be significantly inflated relative to the company's revenue and earnings, suggesting that the stock price could be highly sensitive to even minor fluctuations in future financial performance. Sure, if ARM keeps growing, it won't be a problem. But can ARM really keep this up? Burdened by the acquisition of ARM in 2016, SoftBank sold a majority stake in ARM China in 2018. As of March 31, 2024, SoftBank holds 48% of ARM China's shares. In June 2020, the board of ARM China dismissed its CEO, Alan Wu, who had been with ARM since 1995. ARM China operates an investment fund for companies using ARM technology. By investing in this fund, ARM customers could secure discounts on ARM licensing fees. Interestingly, Alan Wu, the former CEO, set up a personal investment fund named AlphaTecture. It has been revealed that he provided discounts on ARM licensing fees to companies that invested in this fund. Through legal action, Alan Wu successfully resisted the dismissal order and declared ARM China's independence, effectively severing SoftBank's control over the Chinese subsidiary. By unveiling the self-developed AI chip in August 2021, ARM China solidified its position as an independent entity. After a series of negotiations between the Chinese government and SoftBank in April 2022, CEO Alan Wu was ultimately dismissed, but SoftBank failed to regain control of ARM China. Under the terms of its contract with ARM headquarters, ARM China is prohibited from designing microprocessor cores, or CPUs. However, it is permitted to independently develop products that compete with ARM in non-CPU areas. And ARM's 20th annual reports underscore the significant risk to its financial performance posed by such actions. With the expansion of the chip market, more competitors entered the field. The number of new competitors exceeds 1. It is the rise of a new architecture, comparable to x86 in PCs and ARM architecture in mobile devices. It's RISC-V. RISC-V is a freely available, open-source architecture developed at UC Berkeley since 2010. CPU architectures can be broadly categorized into two main types, CISC and RISC. CISC instructions perform more complex operations, while RISC instructions have been reduced to perform fewer, simpler operations. Intel's x86 architecture is an example of a CISC. CISC architectures are designed to execute multiple operations with a single instruction, making programming more convenient. However, this complexity necessitates more intricate hardware, resulting in a higher transistor count and increased power consumption. RISC-V is designed with a focus on simplicity, where each instruction is designed to execute a reduced set of operations. This simplicity leads to less complex hardware, resulting in lower transistor counts and power consumption. However, achieving optimal performance requires skilled designers to effectively utilize this architecture. The ARM architecture sits between CISC and RISC-V. It is based on RISC, but incorporates some complex instructions to enhance performance without compromising power efficiency, striking a balance between low power consumption and high performance. It's becoming popular because it's royalty-free. Therefore, many companies have jumped into developing products using the RISC-V architecture. And Tenstorrent is leading the way in the RISC-V ecosystem. Tenstorrent is led by Jim Keller, renowned for his groundbreaking work at Intel, Apple, Tesla, and AMD. Tenstorrent released the AI accelerator Wormhole in 2024 and is set to release the Black Hole AI accelerator soon. Compared to NVIDIA's AI accelerators, Wormhole can be seen as a cost-effective option, while Black Hole aims for a direct competition. Tenstorrent's success will propel the growth of the RISC-V ecosystem, putting it in direct competition with ARM. And ironically, it's ARM's customers who are most eager to see the growth of the RISC-V ecosystem. Samsung Electronics, a major ARM customer, participated partly in a $100 million funding round for Tenstorrent in August 2023. Qualcomm has gone one step further. Since 2019, they have been conducting tests to implement the RISC-V architecture in chips for mobile devices, automobiles, and the Internet of Things. In 2023, Qualcomm established a joint venture called Queen Torres with Bosch and others. Their short-term goal is to develop automotive chipsets based on the RISC-V architecture with a long-term vision of expanding into the mobile chipset market. In addition, in 2023, global tech giants including Qualcomm, Google, Intel, Nvidia, and Samsung joined forces to develop RISC-V software under the project named RISC. Will ARM remain passive in the face of Qualcomm's aggressive moves? The Nuvia incident has provided ARM with the perfect opportunity to respond. Qualcomm, which had been eyeing the data center chip market, acquired Nuvia in 2021. Nuvia is a startup company founded in 2019 by engineers who had previously worked on the design of Apple's A-series chips. Nuvia designed data center chips based on ARM architecture under license agreement with ARM. In 2022, ARM filed a lawsuit against Qualcomm, alleging that Qualcomm had failed to negotiate a licensing fee for the use of Nuvia's intellectual property after acquiring the company. It is known that the agreement between Nuvia and ARM required ARM's consent for the transfer of Nuvia's intellectual property. Therefore, if ARM did not consent, it would be a violation of the agreement. However, Qualcomm argues that it has a licensing agreement with ARM, and therefore, it can utilize the results of Nuvia's work based on ARM architecture. Despite the legal dispute, Qualcomm has developed the Orion architecture based on Nuvia's intellectual property and is integrating it into the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. And on the very day Qualcomm unveiled the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, ARM notified Qualcomm of the termination of their architecture licensing agreement. If Qualcomm fails to reach an agreement with ARM within 60 days, many of Qualcomm's products using ARM architecture could face a sales ban. ARM has significantly increased its R&D spending to maintain its technological lead. ARM's R&D spending has doubled over the past 2 years, reaching $2 billion in the fiscal year ending March 2024. R&D expenditure accounts for 61% of revenue, which is notably high compared to other major companies, but worth noting that business structures vary in those companies. Considering ARM's drastic move to revoke Qualcomm's license, it seems that ARM is extremely displeased. Qualcomm is likely to try to appease ARM with money, but how will this dispute unfold? ARM could potentially leverage this opportunity to hinder the progress of Qualcomm's RISC-V initiatives. Will this discourage the RISC-V community or accelerate the shift away from ARM-based architectures? Biz Big Picture.